I attempted to make a 3-foot owl sculpture just using a chainsaw. Okay, maybe we use some other tools as well, but I'm going to take you with me through the process. Now, to start off with any wood sculpture, you have to choose the wood. Personally, I'm a big fan of cedar, and that's what I'm going to be using with today in this carving. After that, you're going to be adding some guidelines. The guidelines are highlighted in black, as you can see on the sculpture. Basically, it just makes blocking out easier. And for anybody that is new to chainsaw carving, blocking out is the initial step we take into blocking out the sculpture, meaning getting all the big chunks off so that we can start doing small details. And as you can see, there are some big chunks coming off of this piece. But with chainsaw carving, you always have to be careful with overcutting. As you can see right here, there is an overcut, but it's nothing that we can't handle. We'll fix it a little bit later on in the video. So not only am I doing an owl, but I want it perched up on a log, and then that log being on top of rocks. It's no fun just making the same owl over and over and over again, so I like to mix it up. And the cool thing about this piece is the owl is facing a different way, the log is facing a different way, and the rocks are facing a different way. So it's an all-around 360 piece where there are small details in every corner of this piece, and that's personally what I'm trying to get my carvings to look like. But everybody has their own opinions on how they like to do their carvings. This is personally just how I like to do mine. So now that the blocking out is pretty much taken care of, we're going to start really sculpting this piece. And as you can see, I'm slowly getting rid of that overcut that I was talking about previously in the video. Really, I'm just rounding the whole piece off, getting ready to put the wings in, and also figuring out where the owl's feet are going to be placed on top of the log. And to be proportional, I'm working on both sides of the owl. So I'll do a couple of cuts on one side and then a couple of cuts on the other side just to make sure that they are proportional. And then after that, we're going to start working on the face. I'm going to be using a variety of different tools to make the face of this owl, but I'm going to be starting off with a Manpa power gouge. Basically, I'm going to start off by following the outside of the head, and then I'm going to pop out the eyes a little bit. Then I'm going to come in with my die grinder with a cone bit and start working on the beak, and then I'm going to start shaping at the eyes. As you can see, I started going even deeper than what I did with the Manpa, and then I'm going to switch over to a smaller Dremel with a finer bit so it smooths it out a little bit more. And then I'm going to work on to the other side of the face and do the same process. And then to finish off the outside of the eyes, I like to take another one of the die grinder bits and just do lines all the way around. I personally like the way this looks in owls, and that's why I make them. With that being said, we are now going to work on the body of the owl, and we're going to start off with the chest. We're going to be doing the initial shaping with the power gouge, just like we did with the face. Not only does the power gouge take a lot of wood off, it also adds a lot of cool texture to the logs. And it also helps follow the lines that we made previously for the wings. To sculpt the feet of the owl, I started with a chainsaw, making the initial lines and then gradually making them smaller and smaller. I use the die grinder to get rid of the wood in the middle of the feet. It can definitely be a tricky area to get the wood out. I use the Manpa to shape them further, getting them to the right size, and to just round them off. Then I will come in with the die grinder and I'll start with the talons and then make round cuts for the knuckle just to pop out the feet a little bit more. I really like this texture of feet, and I'm happy with how the feet turned out. As for the wings of the owl, I like to add the scruff about halfway up the owl, and then I start making the feathers halfway down in two different sections. I'm going to have the smaller feathers on the top and then the longer feathers on the bottom. And we'll do that for both sides. It can get a little tricky at times, especially with the log being so close on the other side of the owl, but nothing we can't handle. Once that's finished, we're going to start making some rocks. Rocks are always really fun because there's really no way to mess them up because there's so many different ways you can make rocks. I personally like these flat rocks. There's a lot of cool textures and stuff you can do with them, but I'm most likely just going to end up sanding them at the end. Now that all the carving is done, it's time to start burning. Personally, between me and you, this is my favorite part of carving. So for the first round of sanding, we're going to be using a flap sander with a drill extension bit. It does a really good job sanding it down, making it nice and smooth, getting rid of those hard edges, and just rounding even more. Then for the rocks, we're going to be using a angle grinder with a sanding attachment on it. I like to use the angle grinder first for the rocks just because there's a lot of straight edges. Sanding can be very, very time consuming, but it is definitely worth it at the end because it looks so nice, everything's so soft, and we're getting everything ready for polyurethane. Then to finish off the sanding for the rocks, I'll come back with a flap sander again just to make sure I got all the nook and crannies. The last thing we're going to do before polyurethaning is we're going to be adding some shadows. I'm going to be adding it on the underside of the log, in between the rocks, on the top of the log, in between the feet of the owl, and also for the eyes of the owl and the beak, and some other shadows. Then I'm going to bring the torch in and start working on the wings a little bit, just add a little bit more of texture. You can see that I'm adding 2 lines. I just like to do that with wings. It's something that I just like to do. Here is what it looks like before polyurethane. As for polyurethane, everybody has their go-to brand. Generally, I use Helmsman Spar polyurethane, and I will use a 2-inch brush, start from the top of the carving, and make my way to the bottom of the carving, making sure to get every square inch of this carving covered. Then lastly, I'll take a rag and wipe off all the excess polyurethane. And with that, we finished up the 3-foot perched owl. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I had a hoot making this carving. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you like videos like this, make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.